I do want to head over to London in the United Kingdom. This is a live now look at the city right now because we have been taking you out there for the last more than 24 hours at this point as Queen Elizabeth II is celebrating 70 years of service on the throne. We did just have some video coming in of the royal family arriving at a church service. You could see here you've got Prince William, Duchess Kate Middleton. You have their children, actually their little son Louis, definitely making headlines with how he reacted to that flyover yesterday while they were on the balcony alongside their grandma. That's basically a mood for this Friday morning, no doubt. But Queen Elizabeth took the throne in 1952. She was just 25 years old. In 2015, she became the longest reigning British monarch, besting her great-great-grandmother Queen Victoria. And to honor her time as monarch, the Jubilee celebrations are 4 days long. They started yesterday, and we brought you that Trooping of the Color parade here on Live Now from Fox. That is where these pictures and videos are coming from, the end of that military parade marking Queen Elizabeth's birthday. But actually, yet after a lifetime of good health, age is beginning to catch up with her. Buckingham Palace officially announced late yesterday that the Queen would not be attending that Thanksgiving church service at St. Paul's Cathedral today. It actually did just happen. These are some of the arrivals that we were just showing you. That's after she experienced some discomfort at events yesterday. But the festivities are continuing. Prince Charles stepping in to represent the Queen, the whole family attending, even Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They are not currently working royal family members, so there's been some rules when it comes to where they can be, what they can attend, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But for right now, before we welcome on a special live guest to weigh in on all of the latest details surrounding the Jubilee, we do have several Fox News correspondents out there in London covering all the events. So let's get the very latest from Fox's Madeline Rivera.
It's the second day of Platinum Jubilee celebrations here in London, but the guest of honor will be missing out on today's events.
The royal family gathering Friday at St. Paul's Cathedral for a service of Thanksgiving in honor of Queen Elizabeth. But the palace announcing late Thursday that the monarch would not be in attendance after experiencing some discomfort following the day celebrations. The Queen taking in the massive crowds outside Buckingham Palace Thursday as the Platinum Jubilee kicked off, celebrating her 70 years on the throne.
I think it's a sort of, once in a lifetime monumental moment.
I think it's fantastic that we're able to do all this after so many horrible months of COVID. And it's so great to honour what the Queen has done for 70 years.
Later in the evening, she took part in lighting a chain of ceremonial beacons at Windsor Castle. The Queen has missed several events in the last few months due to what the palace has called episodic mobility issues. But that isn't stopping the public from celebrating this momentous milestone for their monarch.
The Queen looked beautiful. I mean, she's getting older now, but she looks vibrant as ever. We just love the Queen, don't we?
Well, the chance of getting another 70-year reign is, well, pretty much non-existent. Certainly in the near future. Certainly we're not going to see another one.
The Platinum Party will be held at Buckingham Palace on Saturday, featuring performances by Rod Stewart, Queen, and Diana Ross. In London, Madeline Rivera, Fox News. It's the
All right, everybody, and here is a look over the city of London right now. You could see the Eye. You could even see Big Ben if you look out there in the distance. Definitely an exciting time for many. Actually, people living in the Commonwealth got a 4-day weekend. This is a national holiday for them. So some are staying, and actually some are apparently taking this opportunity to enjoy a 4-day weekend and travel outside of the area to enjoy those days off. But I actually do want to stay in London live right now because we are welcoming on to our show Sam Turnpenny. He is a London resident and a bit of a royal family expert himself, so he was kind enough to join us this morning to talk all about what is happening in London right now as the Jubilee festivities continue. So Sam, so great to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thanks for having me on the show, Regina. And from a very, very sunny London, my view here on the ground, a little bit sunnier than your aerial footage earlier, but it looks like the weather has held up for this very big 4-day celebration here in the UK.
Yeah, Sam, you were just seeing me talk about a tropical system that we're monitoring, but good to know that the weather is holding up there because a lot of these festivities are happening outside. But Sam, since you're joining us from London, can you talk about the feel of the city, what you've seen? I know aside from events held by the palace itself, that there are a lot of private events and parties happening all over the place. So what can you tell us?
It is an exceptionally busy London and actually an exceptionally busy UK right now. Obviously, all of this is going on for the Queen's Jubilee celebrations, but it's also really the start of the first summer we've had completely COVID-free restrictions here in the UK. We've got tourists coming in from all over the world to celebrate the Jubilee and just celebrate the beauty that is London at the same time. It doesn't matter what part of the UK you are in at the moment. There are official celebrations taking place in cities all across the UK, from Edinburgh right the way down to London, but private parties up and down the country. And of course, the big British tradition of having a street party. Anyone that lives in a cul-de-sac or a closed road has got chairs and tables out in the streets today to celebrate the Jubilee in the way that we all know best here in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely, Sam. And we're actually going to show some video next to you of people lining the streets. Yesterday, there was that official Color the Troop parade, which I know is that military parade that commemorates the Queen's birthday every year. Were you able to catch any of that?
I was indeed, and I thought it was a fantastic trooping of the colour. It happens every year for the Queen's birthday, and this year it was exceptionally large. I think it was something like 350 horses that were parading down the Mall with thousands of soldiers and probably tens of thousands of people lined up down the Mall to see it. A really fitting tribute for the Queen's 70-year reign. Unfortunately, a little bit of a hiccup halfway through. There were a few protesters that jumped that barrier and went straight into the front of the soldiers who were parading. They're fully working soldiers, but the police dealt with that very swiftly. There was no disruption to the schedule, and we were able to carry on with the festivities.
Yeah. Actually, Sam, I do want to get to a bit of those protests and a little bit of pushback for these celebrations in just a little bit. But I do want to talk to you about the Queen herself. So yesterday, we saw her make that grand appearance on the balcony alongside of 4 generations of working royal family members. But then we learned yesterday, late last night, that she wouldn't be attending the church service that was honoring her 70-year reign this morning. It happened just a couple of hours ago. So really, I mean, when you put it into perspective, she's 96 years old. This is quite a celebration. So what can you say about how this is really showing us that her age is catching up to her?
Indeed, and it's no secret that she's 96 years old. I'm sure you and I both know plenty of people in their 90s, and mobility issues can come around. She is obviously tiring. I think there was a blessing in disguise somewhat with COVID over the last couple of years. She was able to take a lot of her engagements remotely. She's still doing a lot of those remotely. She still does a lot of Zoom calls for public events and engagements instead of traveling up and down the country. And having done that for the last couple of years, I can imagine that being out in public for the first time in a little while, doing big engagements like this, must be quite tiring for her. So is it a surprise that she's going to miss that, or has missed that Thanksgiving service today? No, not really. The other thing I would say about it, though, is that remember, this is not an inauguration. This doesn't get organized on a few months' notice. This has been in the making for the last few years. People have been planning this event for 2-3 years plus. I would not be surprised if her disappearance from today's Thanksgiving service was not necessarily as much of a surprise as we thought. It may always have been planned that she wouldn't be able to make it on the Friday to give her a bit of respite and a break before the rest of the activities this weekend. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. But the fact of the matter is she is getting older. She is having mobility issues, and we are seeing Prince Charles step up, as we saw yesterday, in that front seat in the Cathedral.
Yeah, and you know, when you talk about becoming older, I mean, it's also something to mention too. We just saw her on the balcony alongside one of her cousins, but this is actually the first Jubilee and really the first celebration that she's marking without Prince Philip, and he was just a couple months shy of his 100th birthday.
Indeed, indeed. It will be her first Jubilee. She's seen a few of them, but it will be her first without Prince Philip. Quite a poignant image I felt yesterday, seeing her in the middle of the balcony on her own, but surrounded by her family members with that walking stick. But really a show of bravery, I think, despite all of the obstacles, despite some of the scandal and conspiracy that's been surrounding the royal family over the last couple of years, despite the death of her late husband, she's still there. She's still living her lifetime of public service, and she's still there for the rest of the country.
Absolutely. And, that's a really great point. And, when you talk about Prince Charles really stepping in, I know a couple of weeks ago we saw him represent the Queen at Parliament when he was speaking and attending a session there. And then he was in place for her at the Mass. So, given her age and given the fact that he is the heir to the throne, do you feel that there's a little bit of a passing of the baton and he is taking on more roles as his mother gets older and really can't do as much?
We've definitely seen that. I think there's a real fear of anyone here in the UK using the A word. No one wants anyone to abdicate at any point during the reign of the monarch. But we've definitely seen that soft passing of the baton down to Prince Charles. He's been stepping up and taking over and doing activities and taking on royal engagements for her. And there was a little bit of a rumor coming out of the palace over the last few months that this would be a really good opportunity and a really good year if she is going to do some kind of official passing down of her role to her son. That now would be a good time to do it while she's in the public favor. We've had all the festivities over the course of this 4-day weekend. We will see. It remains to be seen what happens, but I'm sure some of us would not be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when it comes to the support that she's had from her family, like you said, they had that shot yesterday of them on the balcony. Actually, if you really look closely, little Prince Louis really stealing the spotlight there as he put his hands over his ears. There was that flyover after the Trooping the Color parade. But really, when you talk about the drama surrounding the family, like you just mentioned, Sam, I want to talk a little bit about Prince Harry and Meghan because there was some concern on whether or not they would even be there. I know they cited security issues, and they're not working members of the royal family. So can you kind of explain how that works, what they've been attending, and really how this is the first joint appearance with the family since last year's bombshell interview with Oprah?
It is indeed the first time they've been in a public engagement with the royal family since that Oprah interview. And yeah, what have they been doing over the course of the last couple of years? I'm not sure. We haven't seen too much of them here in the UK. Maybe you see more of them out in the States. But this is the first time we're really getting a glimpse with them being with their family members in an engagement like this for quite a long time. I would say personally, I think that it's been quite nice to see Prince Harry and Meghan at the event. At the Thanksgiving ceremony today, they've appeared quite relaxed. It's a very different Prince Harry than we saw a few years ago, constantly with his back arched to try and take on that royal role as a working royal in the family. Now he seems quite relaxed. There's been a lot of photos coming out of him laughing and joking with his niece and nephews and with other members of the royal family. So I think definitely a good thing to see them back and a good thing to see them relaxed. There were indeed these conversations about security concerns, and they said that they were worried about coming back to the UK. I think it's really worth highlighting that I think whilst Prince Harry and Meghan have universal support, near universal support in the States, they're not as universally loved here in the UK. There's a lot of people that think that moving to the States, stepping back from royal life, doing that interview with Oprah was a big snub to the Queen, and they're not happy with some of the way that all played out. So security concerns are a real concern for that royal couple, but I think the Queen stepped in rather graciously over the course of the last few days. She even sent her own personal car to the airport to pick the pair of them up to reassure them, and it's understood that they're staying in the royal cottage in Frogmore to get that 24/7 security that they asked for. So hopefully they are getting that security that they wanted.
Yeah, and when you really put it into perspective, obviously there is an added level of they are the royal family, but at the end of the day, that's Harry's grandmother. I remember even in that Oprah interview, he said, I'm going to refrain from saying certain things because at the end of the day, that's still my family. So definitely interesting for you to mention that there is obviously some mixed reaction from the people of London on their presence there during these festivities. Also something to note here, Sam, we also do know there's obviously been some drama surrounding Prince Andrew, and we learned yesterday. What can you tell us about him testing positive for COVID-19?
Yeah, what a bizarre announcement from the palace that Prince Andrew had suddenly and unexpectedly tested positive for COVID and would not be able to attend the Thanksgiving service. He wasn't planned to attend the Trooping of the Colour. He wasn't on that balcony, as you saw. That we all knew. But we wondered if we might see him at the Thanksgiving service. Now, look, I'm not one to speculate, but I said to you earlier, this event has been planned years in the making. Nothing is really a surprise over the course of this weekend to everyone. So for Prince Andrew to test positive for COVID at a time when everyone everyone in the palace was desperate to keep him out of the public eye, it does seem awfully convenient. Apparently, he saw the Queen, but not before he got COVID. He looked perfectly healthy when he was out horse riding on Wednesday. Who knows what's going on behind closed doors? But will anyone really truly miss his presence on the balcony? I don't think so.
And yeah, Sam, you know, that's actually, again, we don't want to speculate, but it is really a great point. This has been planned for years. All of a sudden he gets COVID. Also, too, the palace would not release the last time that he saw the Queen. So very interesting information there. But everybody is expected to attend this big party on Saturday. We've got a lot of celebrity performers even coming from the United States. So what can you say? Hopefully, maybe the Queen is resting today for that big bash on Saturday. What can you tell us about that party?
Yeah, I really hope to see her on Saturday night, keeping my fingers crossed that she will be able to make it. We don't know too much about how the night is going to play out. All we know is the very long list of celebrities that are going to be there. The palace have told us that this will be a celebration of the breadth of Her Majesty's reign to her extraordinary service to Britain and the Commonwealth, including fashion, sport, entertainment, 70 years of pop, music, musicals, the latter actually curated by the legendary composer Andrew Lloyd Webber, of course, Diana Ross making her first public performance in 15 years. We've got Queen Alicia Keys performing, but also like Sir David Attenborough, Emma Raducanu, David Beckham, all lots of people due to attend. Exactly what will play out, I'm not quite sure yet, but one thing is for sure, it will be a spectacle to see, and it will not be one to miss.
I know, I had no idea that you could enter some sort of contest to win a ticket. I would have done it myself. That sounds like quite the party, for sure. But, you know, when it comes to the whole Commonwealth, London, and everybody really celebrating, Sam, I know that, and actually I'm going to show our viewers a site of London we have right now. This was a 4-day weekend, officially declared a holiday for people living there. So is it true that many have actually taken advantage of the long weekend to flee and go on vacation?
It is indeed true, and the timing of this is also that we have, for most places in the UK, a school holiday next week, so that the kids are all off school next week. There's a great opportunity to get an extended vacation, so lots of people have nabbed at that opportunity. Unfortunately, if you've seen the news here in London, they've been greeted by massive queues at the airport, cancellations of hundreds of flights. I think the airlines for some time have been planning for this big weekend, followed by the school holidays. They anticipated all this demand for flights going out, and lots of people have found themselves stranded. The transport minister saying that he thinks airlines have oversold flights this weekend because they knew it was going to be a popular weekend to fly, and they couldn't get the staff due to COVID to come in and work the flights. That's been an absolute nightmare, and tens of thousands of people have been stuck at stations and airports trying to get away. I was actually right there where you're looking at now at St Pancras yesterday. I've never seen St Pancras that busy in my entire life that I've lived here in London. So people that did try to escape the Jubilee celebrations, unfortunately, weren't in for the holiday that they had planned.
Yeah, actually, I was just about to say we do have some video, Sam, of very packed railway stations of a lot of people trying to take advantage of this holiday, like you just mentioned. So definitely interesting to see her. Obviously, so many want to celebrate, but a lot of people just want to use the time off there. But, you know, when it comes to who's celebrating and who's not, what can you say? Obviously, there's a celebration everywhere you look in the street, I'm sure, but who aren't? I want to head back earlier into our conversation when you said there were protests. Why are these protests happening, and really who are these people?
Yeah, well, the protests yesterday at the Trooping of the Colour were very strange and very unexpected. I don't think we're all 100% sure. There have been mixed messages in the media about exactly what they were protesting. The running thought is that they were protesting something to do with veganism, which is a bizarre thing to do during the middle of the Jubilee celebrations, but whatever. You're right, though, however, the royal family are much loved here in the UK, but not universally so. Travelling back from St Pancras yesterday, that image that you just saw, there were stickers on the tube carriage that I was on the London Underground, anti-monarchy messaging about how much money gets poured into the monarchy each year, which could be used to fund our public healthcare or schools or etc. So there is a bit of underlying sentiment around the monarchy, and obviously all of the scandal that comes out, for example, with Prince Andrew and the controversy that surrounds all of that, doesn't help the public image, which is why this weekend is a perfectly scripted, meticulously planned, organized event to try and improve that public image in the public eye and make sure that the monarchy continue to get that support that they so desperately want.
Yeah, and going off of what you just said, Sam, do you feel that the Jubilee is giving many people, even those indifferent to the monarchy, really a chance to reflect on the state of the nation and the huge changes that have taken place during Elizabeth's reign? I mean, you're talking 70 years of changes.
70 years of changes. For most people, they will not remember a UK without a queen as the head of state. At some point in the future, that will change and we will go back to having a king, but most of us don't remember those days. So much has changed in the space of 70 years. In fact, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, noting yesterday that during the Queen's reign, we've had the first carnival, we've had the first Pride Parade. We've seen huge changes in British society over the course of the last 70 years, with the Queen guiding us on that journey of discovery and change, and what a fantastic figurehead she's been. But I do agree with you. I think it's been a fantastic opportunity to reflect. Lots going on in museums, parties, events, the television, to really remind us of what's happened over the last 70 years, and a great opportunity to reflect and celebrate.
Absolutely. Well, a good note to end on there. Sam Turnpenny, resident of London and a royal family expert, thank you so much for joining our broadcast from overseas. We really appreciate your insight, and I hope, are you going to get to attend any of the festivities? Are you going to any parties yourself this weekend?
Unfortunately, I missed out on those balloted tickets to the concert tomorrow night, so I'll be watching it from the television. But we will be having a bit of a street party in my road. We're going to get the tables out, the bunting are going up later this afternoon, and we will be celebrating just as everyone else will be. Thanks for having me on the show, Regina.
I know. Don't feel bad. It's a very high-end event. There were only so many tickets, so I'm with you. Sam, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. Have a great day and a great weekend.
You too. Have a great weekend, Regina.